Picture yourself in 1942, far from home, no grocery stores, no refrigerators, just you, your fellow soldiers, and the need to eat. The world is at war, and every meal is a challenge. You're surrounded by mud, chaos, and uncertainty. But one thing is certain, you have to keep your strength up no matter what. Supplying fresh food to the front lines was nearly impossible. Long, dangerous supply routes meant fresh meat spoiled before it arrived. The risk of losing entire shipments to spoilage or enemy action was constant. Preservation became a lifeline, turning the tide between hunger and health. The military needed food that could survive weeks, months, even years. Food that could be dropped from planes or stored in muddy foxholes. Rations had to withstand extreme temperatures, rough handling, and the unpredictability of war. Meat was crucial. It provided the protein, and fat soldiers needed to keep going. Without it, energy and morale would plummet. For many, a simple meat ration was the difference between exhaustion and endurance. Meat was crucial. It provided the protein, and fat soldiers needed to keep going. Without it, energy and morale would plummet. For many, a simple meat ration was the difference between exhaustion and endurance. The challenge: deliver safe, edible meat that could withstand war's harshest conditions. It had to be nutritious, compact, and able to last for months without spoiling, even in the most unforgiving environments. The answer? Ancient preservation techniques, scaled up for a global conflict. Methods that had kept families alive for generations were now being used to feed millions of soldiers. Salting, smoking, and drying meat weren't new. They were survival skills passed down for centuries. These time-tested methods became the backbone of wartime nutrition. World War II industrialized these methods. Suddenly, preservation wasn't just a household task. It was a massive, coordinated effort involving scientists, engineers, and factory workers. Factories produced millions of tins of corned beef and dried meat. These rations became as familiar to soldiers as their uniforms, a constant presence in their daily lives. These weren't gourmet meals. They were fuel for survival. Each can or packet was a promise. You'll have the energy to keep moving, to keep fighting. Preserved food was as vital as tanks and planes. Without it, even the best-equipped army would falter. An army marches on its stomach, and in World War II, that stomach was filled with preserved meat. Shared meals became moments of camaraderie and brief comfort amid the chaos. A soldier's gear wasn't just a rifle and helmet. It was also a can of Spam or a strip of salted pork. These rations were as essential as ammunition. These rations meant survival, comfort, and the energy to fight another day. Sometimes a familiar taste from home could lift spirits and remind soldiers what they were fighting for. The science behind preservation was a matter of life and death. Researchers worked tirelessly to improve shelf life, nutrition, and safety, knowing that every breakthrough could save lives. It prevented disease, staved off starvation, and kept armies strong. Proper nutrition meant fewer sick days and more soldiers ready for action. Understanding these methods reveals the daily struggles and resourcefulness of World War II soldiers. Every meal was a small victory against the odds. Preserved meat was more than food. It was a tool for survival. It was a symbol of ingenuity and determination in the face of adversity. The story of World War II rations is a story of endurance and ingenuity. Soldiers found creative ways to make their meals more palatable, sharing recipes and tips in the trenches. It's survival against the odds, a testament to human resilience and the power of a simple meal to keep hope alive. Salting meat is one of humanity's oldest survival tricks, dating back thousands of years to when refrigeration simply didn't exist. Salt draws out moisture from the meat, creating an environment where bacteria and spoilage simply can't take hold. Soldiers and travelers would rub thick layers of salt onto pork or beef, sometimes mixing in saltpeter for even longer preservation and a distinctive flavor. The salted meat was then packed tightly into wooden barrels, layered with even more salt, and sealed up for transport. No ice or refrigeration required. Salt pork or beef could last for months, sometimes even years, making it a lifeline for armies and explorers far from home. Before eating, soldiers would soak the meat in water, sometimes for hours, to draw out the excess salt and make it more palatable. Even after soaking, the meat was often tough and incredibly salty, but it was safe, filling, and dependable in the field. Salting required no fancy equipment or technology, just meat, a generous supply of salt, and patience. This method was practical, could be done almost anywhere, and kept armies and travelers fed through the harshest conditions and longest journeys. The result was dense, chewy, salty meat that provided essential calories and protein, fueling hard work and survival. Salt may seem simple, but in times of war and hardship, it was a powerful tool, turning fresh meat into a reliable source of nourishment for months on end. Canning revolutionized military rations, transforming the way armies fed their troops on the front lines and far from home. The process was simple but ingenious. First, cook the meat to ensure it was safe and flavorful, then quickly seal it in a sturdy metal can, locking in freshness and nutrients. Next, the cans were heated to high temperatures, sterilizing everything inside and killing any bacteria that could cause spoilage. The result? Meat that could last for years, safe from spoilage and ready whenever hunger struck, no matter the conditions. Spam became the iconic canned meat: pork, ham, salt, and preservatives in a tin. Soldiers ate it cold, straight from the can, fried it up for a hot meal, or mixed it into stews and other creative recipes to break the monotony. Canned meats, like corned beef, were also staples, providing protein and energy for long days. Pork and beans, along with a variety of other canned foods, offered both convenience and a welcome change in flavor. Canning allowed for balanced meals, meat for strength, hearty stews for warmth, and even vegetables to provide essential vitamins and nutrients. The can itself was useful. Soldiers repurposed empty cans as makeshift stoves, cups, or even tools in the field. Canning wasn't just about preservation. It was about delivering a ready-to-eat meal anywhere, anytime, under any circumstance. Millions of cans fed armies across the globe, supporting soldiers from the trenches to the tropics. It was survival technology, as important as any weapon. Canned food was reliable, portable, and a true game changer for military logistics. Thanks to the miracle of canning, soldiers could keep going, no matter where the war took them or how tough the conditions became. Drying meat, removing water to stop bacteria, was another ancient method, modernized for World War II. Thinly sliced, salted, and dried, meat became lightweight and long-lasting. Industrial dehydration removed up to 90% of water, creating a crumbly, concentrated protein source. Soldiers could carry days' worth of dried meat without extra weight. To eat, they'd rehydrate it in hot water, making soups or stews. The main benefit: portability and shelf life. A pound of dried beef equaled several pounds of fresh, but took up a fraction of the space. Perfect for paratroopers and long-range patrols. The downside? Tough texture and bland flavor. But in survival, taste was secondary to nutrition. Dried meat was a tactical advantage. Ancient wisdom, modernized for war. It proved that simple methods could still save lives. Let's be honest, World War II rations weren't about flavor. Salted pork, even after soaking, was jaw-achingly salty and tough. Soldiers boiled it with potatoes or cabbage to make it edible. Canned meats like Spam were soft, spongy, and salty, better fried for a crispy crust. Corned beef was fatty, salty, and often greasy, but filling. Eating was about fuel, not pleasure. The psychological boost of a hot meal was huge, even if the taste was monotonous. Food fatigue set in quickly. Soldiers grew to dread the same meals day after day. Dried meat was the least popular, tough, stringy, and bland, but it kept you alive. In the end, taste didn't matter as much as survival. For a hungry, exhausted soldier, even bland stew was a lifesaver. The food of war was salty, repetitive, but life-sustaining. It was the taste of survival. The basics of meat preservation haven't changed, but the technology has. Today, salting is for flavor. Think bacon or prosciutto, not survival. Refrigeration and vacuum packing have replaced barrels of salt. Canning is more refined with better quality and variety. Now, it's about convenience, not necessity. The biggest leap? Freeze drying. Food is frozen, then dried in a vacuum, preserving texture and flavor. Modern MREs use freeze-dried meat, lightweight, tasty, and easy to rehydrate. We've moved from survival rations to meals designed for quality and comfort. World War II soldiers would be amazed by today's options. World War II rations kept soldiers alive, but at a cost. Preserved meats delivered calories and protein, but also massive amounts of salt. High sodium led to dehydration, bloating, and long-term health risks. Fresh nutrients were scarce vitamin deficiencies, especially vitamin C, were common. Canning destroyed some vitamins, making meals calorie-dense but nutrient-poor. The priority was survival, not health. The diet was a blunt instrument, effective but harsh. Soldiers endured the trade-off energy to fight, but nutritional gaps. It was a survival diet, not a healthy one. The price of endurance was paid in salt and monotony. Imagine living a week on World War II rations. Spam, corned beef, salt pork, dried beef. Day 1, novelty and fullness from fatty, salty meals. By day 3, constant thirst, bloating, and flavor fatigue set in. Every meal tastes the same, overwhelmingly salty and heavy. Energy drops, not from lack of calories, but from missing nutrients. Cravings for anything fresh become intense. By week's end, lethargy, headaches, and digestive discomfort. The psychological toll is real. Food fatigue makes each meal a chore. The benefit? You won't starve. But the experience is a powerful reminder of what soldiers endured. Eating this way at home is hard. Doing it in combat was a true test of resilience. It's a lesson in respect for their endurance. World War II. Preservation methods, salting, canning, drying, are still relevant survival skills. In a world dependent on electricity, knowing how to preserve meat is self-reliance. These methods use simple science. Remove water, or create a sterile environment. You can cure bacon, make jerky, or can stews at home. These skills connect us to our food and prepare us for emergencies. World War II rations remind us. Survival isn't just about calories. Think vitamins and morale, too. Add supplements and flavor boosters to your emergency kit. Appreciate the abundance we have today. The resourcefulness of World War II soldiers is an inspiration. Their lessons prepare us for whatever the future holds.